Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to English class. I am Teacher Rose, and together with me is Teacher Chris. Both of us will be your teachers for today. And we will be discussing a very interesting topic that will make your learning fun and meaningful along the way. And without further ado, let's start. Are you ready? All right, so I know that all of you are ready, but before that, let's just take this a quick class reminders. First, be on time. It's really important that before the class starts, you're already in the Google Classroom or in the Google Meet. So be on time means that you're responsible and that you're a polite student. Meaning to say you are excited to learn and that you are ready for the class. And second, students should use the raise hand button if they want to speak. Nevertheless, if the teacher will call you, you should turn on your microphone. And if your name wasn't being called, you just mute your microphone. But if the teacher wants you to speak, use your microphone properly. Third one is students should turn on their camera. Remember, I will give points to those students who will open their camera. So this will be the time that we will be seeing each other, and it's even though it's visual, but then we can see each other's faces, even though if it's an online. And next we have do not eat, drink, or lie in your bed during classes. Even also in during face to face um, students are not allowed to eat, drink, or lie on your chair when the teacher discusses something in front of you, right? So you need to attend, focus during the class discussion, and I need you to participate. And the last one is dress appropriately. Remember, we are not attending a party to look alluring, to be sexy, and to look fancy. Remember, we are here to learn. So dress properly. Thank you. And again, without further ado, are you ready? All right, so I guess all of you are good and all of you are excited and ready. Let's not take this any longer, and I will be showing to you a short clip. It's a poem made by your teacher Rose and teacher Chris, and I want you to listen carefully to the words and language being used, especially to the emotions being expressed by the speaker. So here it is.
African pride. Most people give me the flip when they see me. They do not know my story and they do not know me from Adam. Yet they judge me already. They say I am just an African. What they do not know is the pride I have in the blood coursing through my veins, the pride I have in my rich culture and the history of my people. The pride I have in my strong family ties and the deep connection to my community as we get on like a house on fire. The pride I have in the African music, African art, and African dance. The pride I have in my name and the meaning behind it. Just as my name has meaning, I too will give my life with meaning, even if my life is not as bright as rain. So most of them think I am nothing. Well, do not worry about what I am now, for what I will be and am gradually becoming, because I don't give a crap to those who belittle me. I will raise my head high whenever I go, because I will carry with me my African pride, and nobody can take that away from me.
All right, so now that you're done watching and listening to the poem entitled African Pride, there will be questions of course to follow. So let's have question number one. How do you feel about the poem? And anyone would like to answer? Yes, go ahead. hmm Yes, I do agree with you. So when listening to the poem, we feel proud. It's because we all know that being an African is not that easy. So most of them were being discriminated because of what they are, especially on their skin color. In most of them, people treat them like a dog or a slave because of what their history is. But then the speaker said that he is proud nevertheless. So when we listen to it, we also feel proud. And I do agree with that. Thank you. So now let's proceed with question number two. What do you think is the poem about? Is there a volunteer? All right, thank you. Go ahead. Yes, you're right. Absolutely correct. So the poem is about being proud. It's about carrying your pride, being an African. Actually, it applies to all of us, not just those African. Being also a Filipino, or even if you're a Black American or an African, no matter what your color is, no matter what your nationality is, just be proud of who you are and what you are, as long as you're not hurting or um, making people bad. Nevertheless, what they think of you, just be proud of who you are. No matter what your skin color is, just be proud and carry the torch of who and what you really are. All right, thank you so much. So let's on to the question number three. What feeling did the speaker wants to convey? What do you think? What does it feel? Can we have anyone share your thoughts? Come on. Okay, there you go. Go on, take your time. Absolutely right. Yes, I do agree with you also. When listening to the poem, you can feel the sincerity and honesty of the speaker. The voice is like there's a little bit husky. It's like the speaker wanted to relay a message that no matter what your race are, no matter what your races are, just be proud. Carry the torch, write it on, and even if people neglected you, as long as you did nothing to them or nothing wrong to them, just go on. Live your life, be happy, be proud, and let your life come shining up. All right, thank you so much. All right, so now on to the next last two questions. Question number four. What did you think of the underlined words used in the poem? So as you can see from the words that are used in the poem African Pride, you will notice that there are underlined words, and these are the underlined words. Give me the flick, do not know me from Adam, coursing through my veins, as right as rain, get on like a house on fire, and don't give a crap. So what do you think of these words? Would anyone would like to answer? Yes, I have here a raising hand. Go on. Yes, you're right. So it is an example of an idiomatic expression. It's an idiom. So I think all of you are familiar with this expression. Mhm, that's great. So question number five. This will relate to the question number four. Same person as well to answer. Were you able to determine and understand its true meaning based on its expression alone? Again, were you able to determine and understand its true meaning based on its expression alone? Were you? Yes, yes. I do agree that there are some expression that you understand, but there are some that you don't understand, correct? Yes. So, all right. So let me tell you the meaning of this idioms. So first one is give me the flick. It means that give me the flick meaning being rejected or being neglected. So from the first line on the poem, it says, most people give me the flick when they see me. So when people sees him or meets him, they just neglected him or rejected him. Like he wasn't seen by most of the people. So when there is a crowd, when there is a group, he wouldn't most people wouldn't mind of him, so he just stays out of a circle, just like that. And the next one is do not know me from Adam. What do you think about that? What's the meaning? Anyone? All right, so it's actually do not know me from Adam, meaning to say um you do not know me of who I am, what my stories are, what my experiences are, because we've never met before. So you do not know me with all my life, even just a single minute of my life. That's the meaning of that. Because you do not met that man, or you've never heard anything of that person. Yes. All right. Next is coursing through my veins. So I think all of you are familiar with this one. It's like blood coursing through my veins. So it's like um, passion related to you. So when you say there's an African blood coursing through my veins, meaning it's in your blood, it's in you, it's inside you, and it's your passion burning inside you. All right. And then let's have as right as rain. What do you mean by that? It actually means perfect. So, for example, when we say, my life is not as right as rain, maybe we say, my life is not perfect. Or if I will get the not, my life is as right as rain. So, my life is perfect. Okay, on to the next one. Get on like a house on fire. What does this mean? It means that we get along really well. We click on, and just one click, we get along. So, for instance, we say, I just met this guy once, and when I went to their house, we get on like a house on fire with his family. May you say we get well along with his family. Great. Next is last one. Don't give a crap. I think this is a common idiom and expression. It's like I don't care. Who cares? I don't give a crap. It's like that. Short for I don't care. Simple as that. All right. So thank you so much for participating, everyone. And now let's proceed. Based on the activity that we did earlier, I did ask you some questions regarding the feelings, the emotions, what are your thoughts, and also I've asked you regarding the following phrases and words that were used during the poem, the underlined words that were the idiomatic expressions. So it connects here to our lesson of the day. It's understanding pathos, understanding idioms through context clues and collocations. So let's get started. But wait, before we get into the lesson, let me just introduce to you of what will be our target objectives at the end of the lesson. Here is our learning objectives or our learning outcomes, and these are target things or objectives that needs to be met after all of the lesson being discussed. Target 1, perform a sales pitch using pathos. Target 2, share an experience where pathos was used to persuade someone. Target 3, identify the tone and mood of a song. Target 4, locate and use context clues and collocations in a sentence to determine the meaning of the various idioms, not just determine, but also understand. And last but not the least, target 5, identify the idioms used within a film. And right next to that, let's introduce you to our topic first lesson, which is understanding pathos, and you will have teacher Chris to discuss that for you. Teacher Chris, go ahead, hit the floor.
Good morning or good afternoon. I am Teacher Christian, and today I will be talking about pathos. Pathos is Greek for experience or misfortune. It is one of the modes of persuasion, the others being logos and ethos. Ethos appeals to the speaker's status or authority. I am the king, you must obey me. While logos appeals to the audience's reasoning by building up logical arguments. If you don't fish, you don't eat. Pathos, on the other hand, appeals to emotion, means to persuade the audience by purposely evoking certain feelings to make them feel the way the author wants them to feel. Authors make deliberate word choices, use meaningful language, and use examples and stories to evoke emotion. Authors can desire a range of emotional responses, including sympathy, anger, frustration, or even amusement. Let's have an example. Let's use a nobleman who is trying to get his subjects to work more. If he were to use ethos, a nobleman tells his or her subjects to obey his command and work the fields more, for he owns them as he is high-born. I am your owner, you must work for me. For if he were to use logos, the nobleman would tell his or her subjects to work the fields more, because winter is coming, so the warehouses need to be filled with food, so the city and you can stay fed and survive throughout the winter. If the nobleman would use pathos, the nobleman would say something like, "Have pity on these poor little families that have little to no food. During the winter, they will surely perish." As you can see, the nobleman tries to elicit an emotion to persuade the workers, unlike in ethos, he simply used his highborn status to get his way. While if he were to use logos, the nobleman would use simple logic that meaning if they don't by saying if they don't work, they don't eat, and if winter comes and they don't work, the kingdom will starve. Whenever someone tries to make you feel bad to do something, they're using pathos as a rhetorical tool. They can also use pathos to explain how happy they would feel if you helped them, or how hard it would be for them if you didn't help them. Pathos in everyday life would include a teenager trying to convince his parents to buy a new car by saying if they cared about their child's safety, they'd upgrade him. And if a man at a car dealership implores the salesman to offer the best price on a new car because he needs the car to support his family. Now that we have established what pathos is, let's move on to two literary elements that serve as pillars for pathos: tone and mood. Tone refers to the feeling or the atmosphere that the author has set in the story. Tone depends on what the author himself wants us to feel. It solely depends on the author. When it comes to literature, describes the attitude of the author. Tone is one of the most complex literary terms to understand, and it is the easiest to experience on the page. A book's tone is dependent on the author's choice and use of words and phrases that appear in writing as well as particular sentence structure. Mood, on the other hand, mood refers to the feeling or atmosphere the reader gets from reading the passage, line, story, etc. While many confuse tone and mood as those words are quite interchangeable, mood is all about the reader's feelings and emotions from a text. Mood functions by helping bring the story to life and is utilized through things like setting, imagery, diction, genre, and plot. Also, the text's tone. If done well, a text's tone can reflect the mood equally. There is an equilibrium. It is important for an author to be able to use mood effectively because it helps control the feelings that the work evokes in readers. Now, let's talk examples. Let me give you a little context before we move on to these two songs called The Limpopo River and Senzenina. These songs are about Africa and its struggles. Africa has no foundation to stand on. It is a robbed continent. It is a continent where people have been robbed of economic and humanitarian prosperity due to the years of colonization and post colonization dictatorships, as well as tribal warfare that still persists to this day. There are many dangerous places in Africa filled with warlords and their war bands fighting for dominance. Now, in the first song, the Limpopo River is a wide river that Africans in Zimbabwe have to cross in order to work in the gold mines of South Africa. Let's listen to it.
This is a river song, Limpopo River. Saiwela, 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 Saiwela. Bye.
Okay, now let's take a look at that song. In the first part, it said Saiwela, which means we crossed it. Saiwela Sibili, we really crossed it. Saiwela Inglu Kudela, we crossed the Limpopo River. Siyofuna Imali, to look for money. During this section of the song, the use of repetition is present in order to build and set a serious tone, and it gives up a hopeful mood, as the purpose for crossing the river is stated to be for economic gain. Life is hard in Africa. This part of the song does not give any vague lines that are open to interpretation, but the lines are very direct. The song uses direct language to properly send its message and the gravity of the situation. No beating around the bush when we're desperate for money. Now, for a few questions to ponder on. For the first question, if we were to look at real life, what other groups would have the same experience as the miners in the Limpopo River song? Yes, that is a good example. Students that have settled in the mountains, they have to climb up and down the mountain every single day just to go to school, and sometimes even cross rivers with nothing but a plastic bag to keep their school supplies dry. And most pathways that they walk on aren't even developed roads. They're just long, muddy walkways that, over the years of walking so much on the pathways, grass stopped growing on it. And what about a second question? What is your Limpopo River? When I say what is your Limpopo River, I mean it in a figurative sense, as if I'm saying, what is your struggle? If I were to use a different metaphor, I would say, what is your hurdle that you have to jump over in life? What are your struggles? Okay, that's a good struggle. Yes, as a student, your struggle right now is fighting procrastination and finding a motivation to study. I understand that too, as I too am a slave to sleep and slacking off. Now it's your turn. Let's take a look at that second part of the song. Bapinao Baba Okoko. Where are those fathers? Mothers? Basema Zulwini, they are in heaven. Basichiel Indubeko, they left us problems. Indubeko Zumlaba, these earthly difficulties. Now, for the first question, what is the tone of the song? In this part of the song, what is the tone? Yes, I agree. The tone is mostly bitter, as the singer is somewhat frustrated that the mothers and fathers left their children with earthly difficulties. The mundane problems of everyday life strike harder at the Africans, for they are an oppressed and robbed people. Now, for the second question, what is the mood of the song? Yes, I too sense a gloomy mood throughout the song. They may celebrate in the first part, being able to cross the river and mine gold, but that tells more about their way of life. It tells about their only means of survival, and it gives out a clear picture of how difficult life is in Zimbabwe. For the third question, let's go back to that word, earthly difficulties. What does the song mean by earthly difficulties? Yes, exactly. The tangible struggles of everyday life. That's what it means. For Africans, it was most likely financial and even racial problems. Financial because most of their entire continent is in economic ruin, and the horrors of the past still echo to this day. The pain of slavery is still very fresh for Africans. To this day, they still experience racial profiling. That is when a cop or someone assumes something about you just because you're black. About for the fourth question, how is pathos used in the song? Yes, exactly. Pathos is used in this song to relay the feelings of the Africans, feelings of frustration or feelings of hope, feelings of sympathy for Africans or feelings of anger for the dictators and the colonists. Pathos is used so that the listeners of the song can get a glimpse of the harshness of African life. Now, for the second song, it's shorter. For context, Africans for the longest time have been taken or kidnapped from their homeland and sent to Western countries where they are treated like slaves and objects. They are an oppressed people because of this. For the longest time and until now, people are looking down on Africans. The horrid idea that being white means being superior is still around to this day. White supremacy still exists, sadly. The song Senzenina is the African way of fighting oppression, for it is a song made famous during the apartheid.
Senzenina,
Now that you have listened to the song, let's break it down. Senzenina, what have we done? Sono sensu ubuyama. Our sin is that we are black. Sono sensu yin yaniso. Our sin is the truth. Sibulawayo. They are killing us. Maebuye e Africa. Let Africa return. This is a protest song, and it is traditionally sung during funerals. It was important during the anti apartheid movement in South Africa. The apartheid was a period of racism and segregation in the Americas. Senzenina means what have we done, with the implication of what did we do to deserve this? What did the Africans do? They were robbed, yet they are treated like dirt. Now, time for questions. What do you think the song is protesting about? Okay. The song is protesting about how unfair the treatment is for Africans. And just because they are black, they are treated differently. It is said in the song, "Our sin is that we are black." The song protests about the fact that just because they are black, they are treated less humanely than other people. They are also protesting that the color black is seen as less human, while the color white is seen as supremacy. For the second question, what does the last line mean? Maebuye I Africa. Let Africa return. Yes, exactly. Just like what Odin said to Thor in the movie Thor Ragnarok, Asgard isn't a place, it is a people. Africa isn't just a continent, it is a people too. Let the respect return to Africa. Let the greatness return to Africa. Let basic human decency return to Africa. Africa wasn't just robbed of money, they were also robbed of humanity because as slaves, Africans were treated like objects, and in some parts of the world, they actually still are. Now for the third question. What role does rhetorical questions have in the song? Yes, that's a good observation. Rhetorical questions help add dramatic and emotional effect to the listener. The song uses rhetorical questions so that the listener can get a clue on the message of the entire song. For, for example, the word Senzenina is repeated over and over again in the song. Why is this happening to us? What have we done to deserve this?
Hello once again and welcome. So our next lesson would be understanding idioms through context clues and collocations. So we will be discussing idioms and its examples and also to find out what are context clues and what are collocations and how are we going to use them for us to identify and decipher the meaning of a particular idiom. So idiom, what is it? Can someone define what is an idiom based on their own words? Do we have a volunteer? Yes, go ahead. hmm That's correct. So, idiomatic expressions are a phrase or expression that typically presents a figurative, non-literal meaning. So, when you read an idiomatic expression, you just don't define its meaning based on its word itself or in its expression itself, because the meaning of it is on the other way around. It's not a literal meaning, but it is a figurative, non-literal meaning, and it cannot be understood from the meaning of the words itself. So sometimes you need to look for a hint for you to understand the particular meaning of the idiom. So let's have an example. So here are some examples of an idiomatic expression. First, we have "he's a fish out of water." So what does this mean? Can someone tell me the true meaning of this particular idiom without looking or without searching or without browsing the net? Yes, go ahead. Mm, well, the truth is, as I said earlier, the meaning of the idiom is very far from the word itself, so it's not literal meaning. Just dig deeper. hmm You're almost there. Right. So he's a fish out of water, meaning to say it's actually a feeling of being awkward because you're not used to that particular thing or in the situation that you are in. It's like you're unhappy, you feel awkward, or you're not used to it. So, for instance, um, using a computer for the first time, I felt like a fish out of water, meaning to say it's my first time using a computer and I'm not comfortable with it, so it's unusual for me since the environment is new to me. So I'm like a fish out of water. So sometimes I get awkward and I'm not comfortable with it because the environment, the computer, is new to me. So that's what's the meaning of a fish out of water. All right, for the next example. He's been out of shape. So what does this mean? Does this mean that this person is flexible? What do you think? Come on. Yes. Mm, no, actually, it doesn't mean that the person is flexible or he can move around his body or whatever part of his body. But the meaning of this one is a person is getting angry because he is annoyed or he's agitated of a certain situation. So, for example, I know it was just a mistake, but I get bent out of shape of what happened yesterday. Meaning to say, there is something there is something with the situation that you get angry, so you're bent out of shape. Meaning to say, you're not comfortable with the situation, and then you get angry. So he's bent out of shape, meaning to say, being angry, being agitated. So that's what it means. All right, and on to the next examples. We have here, he had a frog in his throat. Can somebody tell me the exact meaning of this idiom? All right, we have a volunteer. Can you share it to us? All right. Well, actually, it doesn't mean that a boy or a man has frog in his throat or in his mouth. So actually, what's in the picture is really not the meaning of what this particular idiomatic expression is. So when we say he had a frog in his throat, meaning to say, his throat is like rough, so it's not clear. So he has a problem when speaking. So meaning to say, it's really you find one's voice very hard to speak because of hoarseness or because his throat is dry. So for instance, when I say, I need to clear my voice several times before I could answer because I had a frog in my throat, meaning to say there's difficulty speaking. So there's something in his throat, or there's something in my throat that I wasn't able to speak clearly because it's dry and sometimes I need to cough. So that's what it is. All right, on to the next example. That was a closed shave. So what do you mean by that? Can someone guess? Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Wow, right. So this time someone got it right. So that this means that it's a narrow escape from danger or disaster. So you're almost saved. You're almost in danger, but lucky you are, you're safe. So for example, when they say, we weren't hit when the truck swerved at us, but it was a close shave, meaning to say you were almost got into an accident, but you were saved. So there's nothing happened to you, but that was a close one. So you almost get hit by a big truck. That was a close shave. So meaning to say that was a close one. You're nearly close to getting into trouble or into an accident. That's it. All right, on to our next lesson. We will have context clues. So earlier we did talk about idiomatic expression. So right now we will be discussing what are the ways that we need to use in order for us to understand and identify the meaning, the true meaning of a particular idiom. So context clues are one of this that we can use to help understand the meaning of idiom. So what is context clues? Can someone tell me the meaning of context clues? Great. So context clues are hints that we can find within a sentence, a paragraph, or a passage that whatever we read. So in order for us to understand the meaning of a particular idiom, we can find some words. So it's actually it's depending on the sentence where we can find this context clues. It could be at the beginning of a sentence. It could be in the middle, or it could be right after the idiomatic expression. It's actually where it's actually useful when we try to understand the meaning of the idiom. So not just idiom, but also with new and unfamiliar words. So this is very helpful for us to connect and have a clue of what idiomatic expression is from the word itself, clue. So we find clue on the context of a sentence. It might be a word, a phrase, but we can find in a sentence or paragraph. And This will be useful because it will help us identify the true meaning of a particular idiom. So here are some examples. Okay, so here is a first example. The child throws a coin into the wishing well and makes a pie in the sky wish to grow wings and to fly. Can someone tell me the meaning of this particular idiom? Take note, the bold words are the idioms, while the underlined words are the context clue found within a sentence. So, how about example number one? Who can tell me the meaning of this particular idiom? Not just the literal meaning, but the true meaning. All right, come on. All right, go ahead. Yes, that's correct. So, based from the context clue that we found and we use within a sentence, which is to grow wings and to fly, we have a hint or a clue of what a pie in the sky wish. That means impossible. So, a child wants to grow wings. I mean, a child wishes something that is impossible. So the context clue to grow wings and to fly gave us a hint that the pie in the sky wish is just impossible. So there you go. Now let's proceed with the second example. Can we have another volunteer? Sure. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct also. She always cleans the house because she likes her home to be spick and span. So from the context clue itself, always cleans. So we will be having our idea that spick and span meaning tidy, clean. Alright, there you go. Alright, on to our next example. Alright, so for our next examples, we have here the third example. She is feeling under the weather, so she has a sore throat and runny nose. Who can guess what's the meaning of the bold words here? All right. So from the context clue, sore throat and runny nose, you'll have an idea of what under the weather is, meaning sick or ill. So she's not feeling well, or she is sick, she has an illness. And because of the context clue that we find in the sentence sore throat and runny nose, we have an idea of what the exact meaning of the idiom here under the weather. That's correct. Thank you. So now let's have example number four. I answered the long test easily yesterday. It was just a piece of cake for me. So what does piece of cake mean? Can someone guess? All right, you're right. So from the word itself, easily, you can have a hint or a clue that piece of cake is just easy, simple. So for example, oh, don't worry, it's just a piece of cake, meaning to say it's an easy. All right. For our fifth example, we have here, we planned a surprise party for mother, but Benj spilled the beans and spoiled it. So what does this mean? Can someone tell me the exact meaning of this particular idiom? Yes, you're correct. So from the context clue surprise, you'll be having an idea that spilled the beans, meaning to say someone just say your secret or someone just told your secret. So it wasn't a surprise anymore because someone just say it, someone just spill it. Okay, great, thank you. So, how about example number six? At the sleepover, my friends and I will eat cake, cookies, chips, and candy. I plan to pig out. So, can someone tell me the meaning of pig out? Go on. All right, that's correct. So, pig out means overindulging in food. It's food binge. It's actually eating greedily. So, you eat and eat and eat and eat all you can. All you can eat and all you have to eat. It's what it say pig out. From the context clue itself, we'll eat cake, cookies, chips, and candy. So you will eat everything. So you were overindulging in eating foods that you wanted to eat. All right, thank you. For our seventh example, we have here The young girl was gentle and kind to everyone. She would not hurt a fly. So what does this mean? Using the context clue, how would you identify the meaning of this particular idiom? Can someone say it's right in exact meaning from the word or from the clue gentle and kind? Yes, that's correct. So not hurt a fly, meaning she was too gentle to hurt anybody or someone. So she is kind, she is gentle, and she would not dare hurt a fly. Meaning to say she's too gentle to hurt someone. Okay, and for our next example, we have here, I am a night owl. When I have a test, I stay up very late at night to study. So what does night owl means? Can someone guess its meaning? Using the context clue, stay up very late at night? Right, that's correct. So when we say night owl, someone who is habitually active or wakeful at night. So there are, actually, it's common to those students who stays late at night just to finish their quizzes, exams, their assignments, and projects. So most of them are night owls, and I think almost all the students are night owls. So um, they most of the time they stay up late every night. Yes, and that's what night owl is. All right, on to our next activity. And at this moment, it's time for activity. So it's a test or it's a short activity to test your mastery of the lesson. So here is the instruction, and I want you to listen carefully. So using the context clues in a sentence, identify the meaning of the underlying idiom. So this time we will be using Kahoot, and I will send the link in the comment section. And I want you to read carefully the questions or the statements in each of every number and choose correctly the correct answer of the choices provided. Thank you. Alright, so now let's have our another lesson. So it's actually the same or it has similar uses of what we did discuss earlier about context clues. So right now, let's have another way of using how to locate, or I mean, how to identify and decipher the meaning of a particular idiom. So let's have collocations. So, what is it? Can you tell me what is collocation? Can someone give me a short definition about it? Yes, you're correct. Yes, you're all correct. So actually, it refers to a group of two or more words that usually go together. So it's a good way to think about it that co meaning together and then location meaning place. So when two words are together, they usually complement each other. So they usually hang out together. It's like two or more words that are best friend or close friend because they hang out together. So they work together. So we have here some examples of collocations. So we have here some examples of collocations. Actually, there are lots of them, but I just cited here a few. So we have here make noise, make the bed, make sense, do the laundry, do the errands, do a chore, go downtown, go bankrupt, go holiday, take a risk, take a break, take your time, have a walk, have a rest, have a shave, keep in touch, keep away, keep a promise, give a trip, give birth, give a bus. So these are one of a few, or one of a few examples of collocations. As you can see, it's made up of two or more words that go together. And as you can see, based on the words and phrases, the meaning is what it is. Unlike the idioms, the meaning is not literal, meaning non-literal meaning with figurative meaning. But with collocations, the meaning is what it is based on its phrases and based on its words being used. All right? And always remember that there are also lots of collocations that we can use for us to identify the meaning of a particular idiom. All right, so now let's have an example. The bold words are the idioms, and then the underlined words are collocations. So earlier we have an example of collocations. So now we have an example of how they're used in a sentence, and how are we going to determine the meaning or the exact meaning of a particular idioms with the help of collocations. So here's our first example. The business partners were on pins and needles, knowing that their business could go bankrupt. So, from the word or from the collocations go bankrupt, we have an idea of what pins and needles is. So, can anyone guess? All right, go on. Yes, that's correct. So when we say from the word go bankrupt, pins and needles meaning um, the business partners were nervous, or they are quite having this feeling that they're worried. So meaning they're nervous because their business might go bankrupt. All right, thank you. So for example number two, Sheila makes the bed first because she's excited to hit the sun. Our collocations is makes the bed, and our idiom is hit the sun. So what do you mean by that? Mhm. All right, another correct answer. So when we say hit the sack, it's actually excited to go to sleep or eager to go to sleep. So from the word itself, makes the bed. So she prepares the bed because she's excited to go to sleep. So hit the sack. All right, on to our next example. Now for our another example, we have heard the third example. Rachel, you choose your dress first. Just take your time. I'll just hold my horses. So what do you think is the meaning of this particular idiom? Anyone? All right, that's correct. So from the collocation "take your time," you'll have an idea of what "hold my horses" means. It means patience. Yes. So from what the collocation says, take your time, meaning to say you're willing to wait. So you just hold your horses. All right. On to our next example. You should take note on your best friend. She's been lying to you about working late every night this week. I smell a rat. So what does smell a rat mean? Anyone? Using the collocation take note. What can you say the exact meaning of I smell a rat? All right, another correct answer. So from the word take note, or from the collocation take note, you'll have an idea of what the smell rat is. It means betrayal, or there's something wrong going on. So take note meaning to say you have to take note of your best friend because there is something going on that is wrong, and you smell a rat. All right, on to our next example again. And onto our fifth example. Ben keeps blowing hot and cold about the wedding. He should have a thought about it seriously. So what does this particular idiom means? Can someone share his or her thoughts? Okay, you got it correctly. So from the help of the collocation have a thought, meaning to think of it carefully, you'll have an idea of what blowing hot and cold means, and that is someone has changed mind constantly for the value of something, meaning not sure. So they keep changing their minds, their thoughts, their attitudes towards something. So at first they become enthusiastic, they become sure, but then there will become sometimes that they're expressing a no interest at all, like no emotion. So there's been some confusion the way he thinks of something. So instead of having a thought or having a serious thought about it, Ben keeps on changing his thoughts, so unsure. All right, and for our sixth example, Roy always do better to be promoted as the office manager. That's why he's licking the boots. He's licking the boots of his boss. What does this mean? From the collocation "do better," how will you able or what comes into your mind about the licking of the boots? Can someone tell me? Yes, it's actually to treat someone powerful with too much respect in order to get approval. So since Roy always do better so that he can be promoted, He is now licking the boots of his boss, meaning he's giving too much respect. He's doing all that he can so that he can get promoted. So from the word collocation, do better, you'll have an idea what licking the boots is. It's giving so much or making an effort, giving attention and giving high respect to your boss so that you'll have an approval. Okay, and that would be our example for collocation. Alright, so now we're done discussing the idioms, the context clues, and the collocations. So let's have a quick question. What's the difference between idioms and figures of speech? Idioms and collocations, between collocations and context clues. So from idioms and figures of speech, actually, they're quite similar in terms of having a meaning which is figurative, which is non-literal. But we always remember that the main difference for this both of them, the idioms, the meaning of the idioms, although it's non-literal meaning, that it's fixed. But with regards to figure of speech, the meaning, like for example, we have metaphor, simile, personification, hyperbole. We can change any time of how we will be using a particular word. For example, for the simile, she is like a lion. He is like a lion. So it depends on what sentence we're going to use. But on the idioms, the phrase or the idiomatic expression can only be used in one scenario. So that's the main difference because idioms, it's already there. So the expression cannot be changed and also the meaning is fixed. There's nothing we can do about it. Unlike figures of speech, we can use the term or the phrase in a different angle that we like, depending on how we're going to use it. So that's the main difference. How about the idioms and collocations? So again, from the idioms, these are combined words, phrases that the meaning is far away from the literal meaning of the words we use. And like collocations, collocations are the two best friend words or two or more close friends, like we say, two or more that hang out together. So the meaning of the words or phrase that collocation has coincides with the meaning of those words. And like idioms, the meaning is far away from its literal meaning. And like collocations, for example, we have here make way, make the bed, so we can already understand because the meaning is just literal as it is. And like the idioms, it's non-literal, so it's the opposite one. And when it comes to collocations and context clues, they're similar in a way that they can both be used in they can both be used within a sentence so that we can identify and determine the exact meaning of a particular idiom. However, they're quite different when it comes to collocations are two or more words that combine together or that hang out together or that goes together. While context clues, it can be phrases, it can be words, it might be it's up to the reader of what words, specific words that she can find to help his or her identify the meaning of the idiom. So unlike collocations, you have intended there. You have an example collocation, so you just need to find those collocations like make the bed, make way, take your time, take risk. Like there's a hint also. But with the context clues, any words can do as long as it will help you understand what words that you will find in a sentence. It might be in the beginning, the middle, or the end, so that you'll identify the meaning of a particular idiom. And that's it for our lesson for today. And I hope you learned something. Alright, and for last activity this afternoon, we were going to check your mastery of the lesson. So the same as what we did with the last time. Earlier, we will be using also Kahoot. So this time, listen carefully to the instruction. Using the collocations in sentence, identify the meaning of the underlined idiom. So I hope that you will choose wisely the best answer of the activity, and I hope you also enjoy learning. Thank you.